Last year, I guess there were 9 million people that we lost on this planet because of hunger, because of starvation. When you look at what we are facing, this perfect storm over the next 1, 2 years, do you have any assessment of what that number might look like?
Well, we saw the increases, as you've just mentioned, in the number of those who lost lives, and we've seen the increases to some 275 million who are acutely hungry now as a result of the COVID epidemic, and that number increased by 100 million people between 2000 and 2021. This crisis, if nothing is done, we could witness between 100 to between 200 and 300 million additional acutely hungry people. And that's not unusual. The number did get up to the number of food insecure increased to a billion in with the 2008 food crisis. And so those are not numbers taken from the air. They are numbers that reflect the populations that are what we call hotspots, potentially affected, the number of people who are in the category of vulnerable, and their lack of access to food would then total that number that I've just articulated.
Now, when I think about massive food stress in the world today, I think about Afghanistan, I think about Yemen, I think about Bangladesh. I'm wondering what you would add to that list, places we might not think about as much that are potentially going to slip hard over the next year or two.
Yeah, well, I'd start with those places like the ones that you've just listed, Afghanistan, et cetera, but also Somalia, Yemen, Northeast Nigeria, Ethiopia, places where we see very high numbers of acutely hungry today, because we know that those populations are directly dependent upon the World Food Program's ability to access enough food to provide for the assistance that they need in order to meet their food assistance requirements because they're in conflict. I would also include countries like Haiti, Burkina Faso, Mali, Bangladesh, and we can go through a long list, Guatemala, places where you have populations that are vulnerable because the incomes are so limited, and you don't have governments with the capacity to subsidize higher priced foods. And as a result, you'd have more people slipping into a position where food is maybe available but inaccessible because they cannot afford it.